Home prices continue to rise, rents are going through the roof, inventory is not to be found. Are we headed for a housing bubble? I'm Sandi Warner with Warner Realty Group, coming at you Q1 of 2022. Let's talk about those topics, shall we? One of the biggest questions I get, every realtor gets, every conversation, every time I go see somebody I haven't seen in a while, they tell me that we're in a housing bubble and it's coming. And I get it. Home prices are just outrageous. They are so high. Even someone like me who's in the business finds this really kind of shocking. Realtor.com did a survey recently, and of those they surveyed, 77% of consumers came back and said that they thought they were in a housing bubble where they live. Interestingly, even more interestingly to me, was that 44% of agents said that. Well, what is a housing bubble? A housing bubble is a type of economic bubble that occurs periodically in local or global real estate markets and typically follow a land boom. A land boom is the rapid increase in the market prices of real property, such as housing, until they reach unsustainable levels and then they decline. Okay, so I guess what we have to talk about is sustainability. And when we're talking about housing, sustainability often refers to affordability. So let's figure out what affordable means. In housing, a lot of people talk about affordable housing. If you're on any of your local boards or your social boards, you hear people all the time talking about we need affordable housing, we need affordable housing. The term affordable housing is actually a definition that's established by, I believe, HUD, and it means that housing that is affordable to those workers who are within a certain percentage point of poverty levels or median wages, and it's usually the lowest priced properties in any given market. When we're talking about sustainability of the housing market, what we're talking about is the affordability of those homes, not this class of property that's called affordable. So how do we know if it's affordable? Well, the first thing we have to understand is, and we have to know this, housing prices are driven by supply and demand. If there is no demand, then housing prices drop. If there is more demand than there is supply, housing prices continue to go up. So this idea that because the price went up, that it's going to become unsustainable, dropping prices down, is not what a housing bubble is. Yes, we are having a land boom in that the prices are going up, but we're not having any concurrent increase in supply. There's no, particularly in my market, in my area, there isn't anywhere to build. So it's going to be this amount of housing that we have right now. And as long as supply outpaces demand, prices are not going to drop. So let's talk about that idea of affordability. Homes are less affordable now, but they are not unaffordable. Affordable is actually a technical term, and it is a variety of concepts and ideas. The first one being, well, before we even go into that, let's look at it from the point of view of the Housing Affordability Index between 1990 and Q4 of 2021. On your screen, you'll see a chart, and the way you read this chart is the higher the bar is, the higher it is over the dotted line, the more affordable it was. And the thing I think that jumps out here is the orange lines, and that is the years when distressed properties dominated the market. And that was when the bank got all these properties back and they had to get them off their books, and they were just selling them so cheaply. But interest rates were still higher then, just for what that's worth. But the price of the house was so low that really it was very, very affordable. That continued tapered off through 2016, 2017, 2018. It dropped to actually where it was Q1 of 2021. And then it went back up in 2019, 2020, and then back down in 2021. Notice, however, even in 2020, Q4 of 2021, which is the last time this was surveyed, 2 months ago, it was still better than 1990 through 2008. The housing is more expensive, but more affordable still than it was for almost 20 years. So this next chart that we're looking at, this is a rent affordability report that is put out by a company called Attom, ATTOM. And they did a survey. They look at median price home, and I believe it's a 3-bedroom property. They compare the cost of a 3-bedroom property with a median priced home in that market. And in this survey, they found that in 58% of counties in the United States, 58%, the overwhelming majority, it is more affordable to purchase a median priced home. Now, remember, the median priced home might be a 1-bedroom, but still, it's not an exact comparison. However, it is less expensive to purchase a property than it is to rent a property. That means major homeownership expenses consume a smaller portion of the average local wages than renting. Homeownership is more affordable in most of the country, as it was in 2021, following another year when the benefits of rising wages and super low mortgage rates counteracted the effects of home prices spiking. In my area, it is not uncommon to see rents for a 3-bedroom apartment be at $2,900, $3,000, and I have lots of people renting homes for $3,500 a month. I mean, that's just what it is. How do we determine what is affordable? It's a combination of determinants. This is how you would get a loan. For lenders, they want 28%. They want the total cost or the major cost of home ownership to be equal to or less than 28% of your total income. Well, in Q20, the blue bar all the way on the right, that's Q4 of 2021. And even after that major increase in home prices at that time, if purchasing a median price home still left you at 25.2% of the total amount of your wages. Now, if you were renting at that 25.2, you've got no equity. You have no security. Anybody can come along and say, guess what? We're not going to renew your your lease in 6 months because we're going to sell the building. We're going to take advantage and pull our equity out of here. You have no control over your neighbors. You have no control over how the house is kept or the lawn is kept. And you certainly have no investment in the equity in that property. So from that standpoint, while it's less expensive for you to pay your bills in a home, and you're increasing your overall wealth, which is not something that you have with renting. So it is still better to buy than rent right now. Homeownership still remains the affordable option for average workers in a majority of the country, not everywhere. There are areas of the country, the wealthier areas of Rhode Island are experiencing this because it still takes up a smaller portion of their pay. So for the majority of Rhode Island, if you're the average worker, it still makes sense to buy rather than rent because rent is so expensive. And take a look at this chart. I mean, this was done by CoreLogic. Understand that not all rents run through, not like with a sale, the overwhelming majority of sales are tracked through an MLS. Most rents aren't. But on my own personal experience in the communities that we do renting in, I would say that we're actually seeing bigger increases than this. But according to this data that was gathered, the blue line is detached homes, so single family homes. And the green line is attached, or in our area, it'd be a multifamily home. It could be an apartment building. For single family homes in 1 year between 20 and 21, rents increased by 12.1%. 12.1%, that's crazy. And apartments increased by 9%. The average 1-bedroom apartment where I live right now is $1,500. $1,500 for a little rinky-dink 1-bedroom apartment. May or may not have parking. That's not including utilities. Some of them have no washing machines. I mean, rent is really expensive right now. So it all boils down to, is it more affordable to buy a house today than it is to rent? you're either renting or you're buying, or you're lucky and you're living with someone else, yes, it is still more affordable in most markets. Do we have enough affordable housing? No, we don't. And that is truly a problem. But if you can afford to buy a house, this is the market. We're not seeing more inventory coming on. We are not going to see a price drop anytime soon, given the current data. I'm Sandi Warner with Warner Realty Group, making the complex simple.